Then Subhuti, upon hearing the sutra spoken and deeply understanding its purport, wept and said to the Buddha, "How rare, world-honored one, is this sutra so profoundly spoken by the Buddha? From the time I obtained the wisdom eye until the present, I have never before heard such a sutra. World-honored one, if someone hears the sutra with a pure heart of faith, then he produces real mark. That person should be known to have accomplished the foremost and most rare merit and virtue. World-honored one, the real mark is no mark, therefore the Tathagata calls it the real mark. World-honored one, now as I hear this sutra, I believe, understand, receive, and hold it without difficulty. If in the future, in the last 500 years, there are living beings who, when they hear this sutra, believe, understand, receive, and hold it, such people will be foremost and most rare. And why? Such people will have no mark of self, no mark of others, no mark of living beings, and no mark of a life. And why? The mark of self is no mark. The mark of others, the mark of living beings, and the mark of a life are no marks. And why? Those who have relinquished all marks are called Buddhas."
The Buddha told Subhuti, "So it is, so it is. If someone hears this sutra and is not frightened or alarmed or terrified, you should know that person is most rare." And why? Subhuti, the foremost paramita is spoken of by the Tathagata as no foremost paramita. Therefore it is called the foremost paramita. And why? Subhuti, it is as in the past when the king of Kalinga dismembered my body. At that time I had no mark of self, no mark of others, no mark of living beings, and no mark of a life. And why? When I was cut limb from limb, if I had had a mark of self, a mark of others, a mark of living beings, or a mark of life, I would have been outraged. Subhuti, further I recall that in the past, for 500 lives I was the patient immortal. During all those lives I had no mark of self, no mark of others, no mark of living beings, and no mark of a life. For that reason, Subhuti, a bodhisattva should, relinquishing all marks, produce the heart of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. He should produce that heart without dwelling in forms. He should produce that heart without dwelling in sounds, smells, tastes, tangible objects, or dharmas. He should produce that heart which does not dwell anywhere. Any dwelling of the heart is no dwelling. Therefore, the Buddha says, the heart of a bodhisattva should not dwell in forms when he gives. Subhuti, a bodhisattva, to benefit all beings, should give thus. All marks are spoken of by the Tathagata as no marks, and all living beings are spoken of as no living beings. Subhuti, the Tathagata, is one who speaks the truth, who speaks the actual, who speaks what is so, who does not speak what is false, who does not speak what is not so. Subhuti, the Dharma obtained by the Tathagata, is neither true nor false. Subhuti, a bodhisattva whose heart dwells in dharmas when he gives, is like a man who enters darkness, who cannot see a thing. A bodhisattva whose heart does not dwell in dharmas when he gives is like a man with eyes in the bright sunlight, who can see all kinds of forms. Subhuti, in the future, if a good man or good woman can receive, hold, read, and recite this sutra, then the Tathagata, by means of all Buddha wisdom, will completely know and see that person. That person accomplishes measureless and boundless merit and virtue. Diamond Sutra, Chapter 14, Still Extinction Apart from Marks.